Okay, welcome to the Bodybuilding Lifestyle Podcast, Episode 2, the show where we discuss the challenges of balancing the bodybuilding lifestyle around the rest of our lives. Today, we've actually got a bit of a different angle for the show. We're going to be talking about the challenges surrounding organising a bodybuilding competition. And who better to have on than Mr. Rob Rose from Granite City? How are we getting on?
Oh, hello. Hi, George. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. I can give up an hour of my day for you. No problem.
Oh, man. Always got time for you as well, mate. It was actually Jack that suggested having you on.
What a guy.
It was literally just as soon as we finished the last podcast, he was like, mate, like, you know who'd be perfect? Get Rob on, talk about Granite.
Uh, dude, I watched the last 5 minutes of the podcast. I messaged Jack. I was like, oh, I missed him, man. I was like, holy fuck, that was really nice. Nice to hear from somebody I consider, one of the best bodybuilders in the UK and a good friend. Say
Yeah,
that, like something like that. I, yeah, fucking blown away, man, blown away. But yeah, really cool to hear. Really cool to hear.
absolutely. So, what we'll do initially, because I've got like questions to run through in certain topics, but
Yeah.
could you just give us a rundown on yourself? So, like your own kind of bodybuilding as well, and also just the history of Granite and where we're at now.
Where to begin? Right, so I'll start with myself. As you can see from my office, there's trophies everywhere. There's a few swords over. None of them are mine. They're all my wife's. She's a spectacular bodybuilder. I am a very mediocre bodybuilder. So some of the medals are mine. But yeah, so I had a very mediocre bodybuilding career. But it like for like an absolute love of the game. I love bodybuilding. I love what it can do for people positively. I love what the whole gym and fitness community can do for people. What it's done for me over the years. It's given me so much. Bodybuilding and even just basically the gym has given me back. So that's a little bit about my bodybuilding. I'm still a bodybuilder. Like I was 5 minutes late because I needed to get a meal in. Because my day is so compressed. So I very rarely miss a meal.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
this,
sure quite a
this,
lot of people can relate to that that's listening right now.
yeah, man, yeah. I think I've been eating 6 meals consistently now for 20 years. So I'm still a bodybuilder, but not pursuing any competitive plans anytime soon. Um, so yeah, that's the bodybuilding side of things. So show stuff. So I promote the Granite City Classic. Myself and my team of adventures come together every year and put together what I would consider one of the most entertaining shows in UK bodybuilding. I don't say that lightly. I've been to them all, and like I imagine you've been to a fair few as well, George. I find bodybuilding shows, unless I'm watching a class with somebody I know and care about in them, um, I find them to be quite boring. Um, so
I can
ours
agree.
is yeah, yeah. So mine's is more of a show. Um, so yeah, like I think so. I competed. I had plans to put the granite on, and then I was a bit selfish, and I was like, I'm not doing it this year because I have shows planned. So I competed, and then the following year I put it on, or planned to put it on, booked it all, sold it out, and then COVID happened, and then had to torpedo the whole thing. And then gyms were meant to open again at a certain date. Gyms opened, but the world wasn't allowed to be in a confined space with other people. So I couldn't put it on. So I sold it out again, had to cancel it. Then we eventually opened up. Again, I sold it out. So I sold the show out 3 times before it ever got rolling. And at the time, we were at a much smaller venue than we're at now. And then the venue we had planned um, only had 270 seats, so 270 seats, and we'd sold it out 3 times.
What's that
Um,
in comparison to where we're at now?
well, last year we sold 604 tickets. I comped about 90. Yeah, so last year we sold out the show. So it's a substantial level up. So like I put like a bit of and I do this a lot. So if something negative happens, I try and take some positive from it. So um, for example, um, they basically said you can't put your show on, and they told us this 10 days before the show was meant to happen. So I sat on it for a day, and I was like, how can I spin this and make it something positive? So I previously went to the ballroom, and they were massively out of my budget. I went to the ballroom. I basically explained the situation, um, and they hadn't had any business in 2 years because COVID. So I said, look, it's sold out. There's 270 tickets sold out. If you say yes to this, I'll put all the other seats you can fit up for sale, um, and we'll pull the trigger at doing it at the ballroom. And they were like, let's do it. So fucking thank you first and foremost to the ballroom for. So I was like, we are too big for that venue. We are too big. The show's too massive. Too many people want to compete with us. Too many people want to come see this. We're going to the ballroom. It needs to be massive. When actually, it was probably the most stressful 2 weeks of my life.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up selling nearly 400 tickets after we put them on sale, and they were only on sale at the desk on the day. So yeah, 412 or something. I forget the exact number. So yeah, ended up a massive level up, and that venue that you've been in it is like incredible for bodybuilding. Incredible for putting on a show.
I was saying that with Jack on the last podcast. Like, 'cause obviously that was my first show, man. That's my first experience, and like, see when you first walk out onto like the top balcony bit when you come out from the athletes area, and you can just like,
Yeah.
see the crowd, you can hear them roaring. Like, it was sick.
Yeah,
Such a
yeah.
good time.
I get you saying that gives me goosebumps, man. I'm like, no,
I had goosebumps at the time.
yeah,
It was obviously, yeah, really happy with that venue, and
yeah.
it's I think we're really lucky to have it there.
Mm.
So
A large part of why I wanted to put the show on is obviously being from up north, being from Inverness, living down in Aberdeen for 14 years now. I'd seen like so much talent come through the north of Scotland and have to travel sometimes just as far as Glasgow, but generally if they wanted to make a dent in the scene, travel all the way to, Maidenhead, London, Manchester, Birmingham, things like that. So if you're just like somebody who's a first timer, who's wanting to get on stage, there wasn't a whole lot of I'm not saying good shows because like all shows are different. Like so if I take another generic like amateur bodybuilding show like let me think what's coming up like the FMC or BPA or any of them like that. What I would say is they don't have the size and stuff, but it's probably not as intimidating for a first time competitor. So they've got something really cool with that regard. You can just jump on stage with them, really good. But there wasn't a lot of options for that for athletes in the northeast, in the north of Scotland. So I was like, this should happen in some way. And at the time, I helped run the Inverness show. I don't know if you ever went to that show or heard of that show.
no, it was a wee bit
Um,
before my time before I
yeah.
got into bodybuilding.
So Gavin used to run that show, and Gavin had a very Gavin. I get the feeling, well, this is not Gavin's word, but Gavin put it on out of having like a responsibility because he was a local gym owner putting this show on.
Yeah,
So I basically had feedback for him regularly about, you could maybe do this, you could maybe do that, and it was like pretty solid feedback. Like you should get a professional tanner. And eventually we got a professional tanning sponsorship. But I think Gavin wanted it to be very simple and effective, and it worked. It worked great. But then that started my head turning, and I was travelling back through from Aberdeen, and I was asked, I think I can put something on that I think is worthy of bodybuilding in Scotland because the talent coming out of this country is obscene, obscene. Like,
yeah. The level of like the level of athletes that we had at Granite was nuts. Like,
yeah.
I did
Oh.
physique category, man. Like, it just gave me so much to take away that I've taken into this off season as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, oh yeah, you were in the classic, the giant pose down. Were you in that?
yeah,
Jump into the classic, yeah.
yeah. So that was after my first timers category. So it was like a big
Mate,
wake up.
what a trial by fire, eh? Jump into like, I think there's 22 in that class.
Yeah,
22,
I remember messaging you, and I said
yeah,
to you, 'cause I already like applied to do first timers, and I was
yeah,
like, Jack suggested me doing classic physique. Like, what do you think? Do you think I'd like be able to fit in with that, or I'd be out
yeah,
of place? Be like, nah, totally fitting.
yeah,
Totally, you'd suit in
for
quite the
sure.
thing. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
Oh, 100%. And
You
it
know,
gives you an idea, like like you said, like what to take away for your off season, man.
yeah,
I'd say if you're in condition and you have an opportunity to get on stage, do it. Yeah,
yeah,
do it. If
absolutely,
health
man.
if health allows and everything's in line, like yeah, man, get on stage. More time the merrier. Especially with a local crowd as well, eh? Like, especially with a local crowd. Because you're not going to get that atmosphere. Like if you competed south of the border, George, you went down to. So I've been to a bunch of their shows, and again, they're so efficient. And like I haven't been to every bodybuilding show, so I'm speaking on my experience alone. But they're very much like a bit of a beauty pageant. You know, you walk out, there's music in the background, but it's not particularly loud. Um, and it's just like boom, boom, you're first, you're third. There's generally not much of a pose down, and off you go. So it's very vanilla. Um, so if you like, because I know people who've went to compete at these shows because they're, I don't know, the what's the word? They're like the blue tick shows that you should go and compete at, and they're just a bit underwhelmed by it all. And then they come to Granite and they're like, "What the fuck was that? Like that was insane." But that's what I think a show should be.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just my preference. That's just my preference.
Hmm.
I want something that like because half the people in that audience aren't competitive bodybuilders. They don't have a fucking clue what's going on. Like
Yeah,
they're like they're yeah
they're not there in that.
yeah. So if your family and friends come through to watch, like maybe one of them goes to the gym a bit and kind of knows what's going on and understands bodybuilding, but the rest of them are like, yeah, no, no. So I'm like, I try to make it as entertaining for them as I can, as
Yes.
well. So that lifts the whole room. That lifts the whole room, I find.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
Mm.
that's good. It's good that you kind of focus on that aspect of it instead of it just being focused on, like a conveyor belt rolling the bodybuilders out, and it's
Yeah, man,
just
yeah, yeah. But
it's
I can do that. So I'm not a giant federation who have to churn through like 50 shows a year and who are probably very much like, let's come on, let's get this done, let's get this done. I do it once a year and I get to put like, if I'm honest, probably about 11 and a half months worth of thought process and work into that one day and try and make it as cool as I can. Like,
Mhm.
whereas other federations don't get to do that. So I have a lot of creative freedom, shall we say, so I can kind of do what I want.
Would you say that like pretty much as soon as the last Granite's finished, obviously like a couple of weeks off to like relax, but are you like writing down ideas and kind of having thoughts about the next one, like as
Yeah,
you
so I'm so Pete, my right hand man, who you'll interact with if you're ever emailing a show or anything like that. Pete's a great guy, but Pete is almost like he is immediately sold. He's like, that was the greatest show we've ever done. Whereas my process is different. So I see it differently. I'm like, that was bad, that was poor, that was good, that could have done better, and I see it just a bit more dynamically, I think. So I almost don't get excited until I see the video and photo footage come through. Shout out to Luke from Dedicated Productions, by the way, because this year's videos and photos were the best we've ever had. That man is a talent. So see when I get to physically see the evidence, 'cause I'm up on stage, I don't know how it's gone
you don't know what's
generally.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was good, but I don't. And then I watch the video, I see the photos, and that's the money shot for me. I'm like, we nailed it. Like that's cool. So I first of all I problem solve the stuff that went wrong. That's usually the first stuff I address immediately. How did it go wrong? There's usually like a trail leading back to a point where we've made a decision, and that decision has been the wrong decision. So it's you think about over 100 competitors, 600, 700 include the stalls, maybe 800 people in a building. Like there's stuff's going to go wrong,
That's
things are
gonna
going to
happen.
change,
Yeah.
things are going to move. Yeah, so you're herding like a giant army of cats. So there's just going to be weird things that happen. So there's some stuff you just can't account for. So I try and almost immediately problem solve the stuff that's went wrong.
Yeah.
But
Probably
this
the best
year,
way.
this year we went to, I think it was almost immediately after. It was like a day after, maybe. Myself and the wife went to Budapest for a few days, like just down tools. But because of the social media aspect of the show, like had to spend like a full day pretty much like reshare, 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 post,
Mhm.
post, post. Then there's things like the overall photo that comes out, um, the video footage that comes out. So I still have to be, yeah, there's not really a whole lot of downtime, man, to be perfectly honest. I'm on the Granite Instagram every day. So I get
Yeah.
up and I believe it or not, I do cardio every morning. For my health, not for aesthetic purposes. Um So I do cardio every morning, and I usually sit on the Granite page and reshare everything that
Yeah,
has, like, from the sponsors and stuff that have tagged me, but also anything I see that's relevant to Scottish bodybuilding.
yeah. I can't get
I
enough of
reshare.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
man. Yeah, yeah. It's the
it's
right thing to do, man. It's the right thing to do. Like I built this platform. I have built a platform, but like I would like to level up everyone in Scotland and put them on that platform as best I can. I think it's the right thing to do.
absolutely. I think like a massive thing that I'm quite passionate about is the growth of bodybuilding in Scotland,
Yeah,
especially with like living in Inverness, man. Like it's getting bigger and more popular here. Like every year, there's more and more guys coming through.
yeah.
It definitely is a bit quieter here for bodybuilding, and
Oh
I'd
yeah,
fucking expand that.
yeah. Shout out to the Forge for becoming a bit of a bodybuilding hub in Inverness. That's class. That's class.
Absolutely.
That I think they moved away because initially they were kind of almost like the so I don't know how much you know about the old dinosaurs on the other end of this phone, George, but I helped set up Forge with my work van. So I pile plates, equipment, different. Like, see if you saw an old crap bit of bodybuilding kit in that gym when you first joined up. It's probably me that put it into the gym.
Is
So I
this like
like,
the initial, the original Forge? Yeah.
yes, this is at first opening. So I got my work van for maybe a week after work and helped Gavin like move all the equipment into the forge. So I've seen that place go through different transitions, and I always thought it had so much potential for bodybuilding, but it was kind of almost like a bit of a West Side Barbell vibe. It was always a bit unclean, and then you can't have
Oh, oh, there's a bit of a. Ah, you're all right. I was wondering if you were like disconnecting.
uh, I'll put my cell on do not disturb. There
I'm
we
going to do
go.
that with my phone as well, just in case.
Yeah, totally. Um, it's actually a phone call that I've been looking forward to getting. But I'll phone the bastard. No, no, don't worry. I'll phone him back when I get off. Yeah,
Fair
where
enough.
was I? Yeah, so when Forge opened, it's a bit of a West Side Barbell vibe, and I loved it, to be honest, like going in there and clanging and banging. But when Dean and Louise took it over, like just they've just put everything they can and their own stamp on it, and I
Yeah.
think it now lends itself heavily towards bodybuilding. They've still got all the powerlifting kit stuff, but it lends itself pretty heavily to bodybuilding. And so I
Yeah.
think giving these people a destination, and it's like I always remember you'd be like in Forge and you get like some random guy who trains at the sports centre in Dingwall would walk in and be like, "Ugh, like, where have you been hiding?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, just I'm up in Inverness, sort of coming and train," and then you wouldn't see him
Still
again for
get
6 months. Yeah, yeah, he probably trains in like a leisure centre somewhere and is yoked. Like, what?
that.
Why aren't you in a bodybuilding stage, my friend?
You're supposed to be here this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, having a destination. So whilst I do really appreciate Jack's comments on your last point, I think Dean and Louise, um, they've done so much for bodybuilding, especially in the north. And then Ronnie Genther, who's invested heavily in Warehouse Health Club. They've done so much for Scottish bodybuilding, like so much, in this particular part of the country. Um, so I think independent gym owners have they have my appreciation, my love, because without these hubs. So I tell when people talk to me about bodybuilding, I'm like, look, if you're just interested in going to the gym and you know what bodybuild, go to the gym that's closest to your house because it's going to be the one that's most convenient for you to go to. But if you want a bodybuild, like and you have to travel like 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes to get to a bodybuilding gym, you should do that. Like the equipment's always better, the people always train a bit harder generally, and you're around an environment that is really productive for bodybuilding. So, like, shout out to Ronnie at Warehouse, Louise and Dean at Forge for creating these hubs because without them, like there's not a whole lot of bodybuilding stuff that you can get away with in the
No,
you know the
I
the
think so.
Nairn Leisure Centre. That
So it would leave us a bit kind of unaware of where to even really begin our bodybuilding. So it's definitely allows. If we're talking about Granite as a competition, it's like how much more, how much less populated would that be without these gyms initially thrown down?
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
know what I mean?
So I say I do. So I believe it or not, being on a microphone is not like my natural habitat. It's not something I ever wanted to do. So the first year, I didn't have a microphone, and then I kept being like this needs to be said now, this needs to be said now, and I didn't have a microphone to say it. So the second year, I got a microphone and started talking shit, basically. Um, so try to hype people up and all that stuff. But at the beginning, I do a little speech, like, thanks for coming. And I genuinely mean it from my heart. Without the bodybuilding talent in this country, without bodybuilders, like, there would be no show. Like, there would
Yeah.
literally be no show. So, like, whilst it's lovely that I put it on, the team and I work relentlessly to make it as good as we can. Um, without 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 the bros, without all these bodybuilders coming through, there'd be no show to put on. So without them and the bodybuilding hubs in the northeast, like, it
Yeah.
wouldn't the show wouldn't be what it is. So yeah,
Yeah. I think
props to them.
without the athletes just wouldn't
Yeah,
happen. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. So I'll crack into the first question that I've got for you.
yeah. Of course, sorry. I,
So
t I
no,
take
no,
I'm quite like, so I'm very emotionally attached to this stuff, right? So I tend to ramble on. So at any point you're like,
here,
come back, Rob, come back. Like,
no, no.
I
It's
get
good
quite
to have
emotional
that
about it.
first kind of initial discussion, and I asked you
Yeah,
to go in depth about Granite. So
yeah.
my first question was actually, how did Granite get to where it is today? But you've kind of already explained that. Really,
Yeah.
we've kind of went through that. Um,
Every year I try and just turn the dial round another notch. So I push a little bit harder. I try and do a little bit more because I think we have the like last year, for instance, I think we had the perfect recipe, and not everything went to plan. You know yourself. We ended up running 2 hours behind. Now that was the decision on my part, so the buck stops with me, obviously. But we had there was a miscommunication, and we hadn't picked up weights for the guys. So the weights were coming, and like, not all shows provide weights. So if you ever go to like any shows down south, like, quite a lot of them don't bother providing. You have to take your own stuff, but we provide weights and stuff for the guys. So we basically had to make a call, and we could send the masters classes out without weights bands. They would have to do their own pump up and figure it out themselves, or we could wait and get the weights. And I, like, athletes come first for me. And I was like, I can't in good conscience not give them the best opportunity. Like, we've told them they'd have that. Some of these athletes competed with us before; they'd expect that to be here. So we made a call, and it ended up running us. We lost about an hour just from that decision. So that's on me. And so I pissed off, the other 100 competitors or so to make sure the masters classes were okay. Um, so that decision was poor on the day, and so I think we have the right ingredients, but we just need to make it as efficient as possible. So
absolutely.
that's the plan. That's the plan this year, just to be slightly more efficient with our time.
Yeah. The thing is, that happened because you cared about the athletes, and I was going to say as well, like,
Mm.
you can see it from, like, even the athletes area. Like, you don't get that at other shows. I mean, not most shows. Like, having food and refreshments and that backstage, like having somewhere to put your feet up. Like, I've heard of guys like lying on concrete floors,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
nowhere to sit down, or
yeah.
so having
But
that
that's
was
it's also it depends on the venue you end up getting. So we're again, like, so we looked at the ballroom before, and it was like, this venue is perfect, but it's just out of our budget. It's just far too far out of our budget. Um, and the other venue would have been pretty good. So it's almost theatre style seating, and you would have your own dressing rooms, blah blah blah. There's actually the other venue had male and female separate rooms, similar in size. So it probably would have been slightly less good for the bodybuilding show, but a lot better for the athletes. But yeah, the upstairs area is like, I think athletes are always going to come first. So having somewhere you guys can relax, because stress is a huge factor. It's an
oh,
enormous factor. So a nice area that's clean, that's warm, that you can. You've also got like the mirrors, you've got the wooden flooring and stuff, so the girls can practice their posing in their heels in front of a mirror before they go on. All the weights and stuff in one room for you. All the tanning and stuff is in the same room. Hair and makeup in the same room. So everything's as stress free as possible. And then the refreshments and stuff with the athletes, like, that's like, I traveled around the country with Catherine last year, and I was like, I'd seen this before, but it never really sunk in. So I'd watched athletes panic and be like, "Oh man, my coach says I need almond butter, and I don't have any almond butter," and I'd watch them panic, freak out a bit, stress out. They wouldn't have almond butter. They'd be going begging for almond butter like a crackhead. Like, "Hey bud, do you have any? Can I borrow some of your nut butter?" Um, and I was like, why don't we just mitigate all this for the athletes? So we just put I think there's like 2 tables we ended up doing last year. So you've got rice cakes, jam, peanut butter, salt, hydration products, um, cans of White Monster, cans of White Monster for everyone. And
I
just
asked
any,
you to have one of them, and you said no.
absolutely not. No, absolutely not. No. Um, so yeah, anything that you could possibly need on show day is literally there. And then the other thing we do is we pump the show onto the big screen
Mhm.
that's in the athletes area. So you literally watch the show happening. So you know exactly what's going on, where you need to be, and you don't need to leave your little safe space. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good. I made use of some of the food in that as well. Like I think I
yeah,
had like rice cakes, and I think it was squares bars as well.
yeah. It's
It was,
sometimes things don't go to plan, man. Things don't go to plan. Like you might be flat, and your coach says, your coach might not be there, and he might be like, mate, we could really do it. Putting in another meal, putting in this. Times might run differently. You end up, and you need more food. Well, there it is. Right, so you
yeah,
don't have to freak out. You don't have to flap. You don't have to run out in your tan and run to Asda. You know what I mean?
yeah. You want it to be as stress free as possible. I mean, like stress has a massive effect on the physique, and if you can mitigate that with something as simple as like just having food there and drinks and whatever, then
Yeah.
it's really beneficial for the athletes.
Hmm.
Um, so, so what would you say is the most challenging thing about organizing a bodybuilding show?
What's the most challenging thing about organizing a bodybuilding show? Um, I can't. There's only one. There's only one of me, so I can't. I can't be in two places at one. So there's things that I think because of I'm a bodybuilding fanboy. Like, there's no getting away from it. So me being on stage is what I like. Is what I think where my value lies. But I can also see. I think because of what I do for a living, I can see problems occurring before they become like quite a large problem, and I can't physically be operational and out and about fixing problems. That's the most difficult part for me on show day is is not being able to be in two places at once. So that's why I have Pete who's spectacular, but
Mhm.
the the most difficult part is making sure, because like I said, I used the analogy last year. It's almost like we've built this like jumbo jet. Like we've built our own Boeing 747, and we just need to land it. And it's getting all those bits lined up. And on one day, you only have one crack at it and landing it right. And there's
Just
so much like
timing,
that.
yeah.
That one decision, like pissed off 100 people last year. But also, I probably pissed off everyone in the crowd as well. So meh, is I'm never going to make everyone happy, and I'm never going to make it. I had the touch on this the classic pose down, where everyone jumped off the stage.
Uh,
Now, as a bodybuilding fan, I was like, that's one of the coolest pose downs I've ever seen. Very unprofessional, I get it. Not safe. Yep, health and
yeah,
safety went out the window. Um, but I only had 2 people complain, um, so that's absolutely fine with me. Yeah, 2 people
yeah,
complaining I can take.
yeah. That's bit of spoil sports.
Yeah, no, totally. I thought it was great crack. I thought it was
Or
great
Karen.
crack. Yeah, yeah. Basically, I had some abusive messages from a woman whose partner was competing, and she was basically saying it was. And she's obviously somebody who I'm just going ahead and say knows nothing about bodybuilding,
Mhm.
from her comments. She said her partner didn't have the amount of time he should have had on stage, blah blah blah. I was like, well, he did. He came out. He was in the lineup. He did all his quarter turns. He actually did the quarter turns 3 or 4 times. He did all his mandatory posing. He did his posing routine. He then came at the pose down, and he decided he didn't want to go and jump off stage and jump out. He just stayed on the stage. So she
Yeah,
was like, "This is a disgrace." I was like, "What? Because he came fucking 19th or something? Like, it's nothing to do with any of that. Like, his physique is why he's there."
yeah.
Um, yeah. So,
Well,
hey
she
ho.
was upset that other people jumped off onto the jump.
Yeah,
They jumped off the
yeah.
stage.
She
Everybody.
actually said it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to
Yeah.
bodybuilding, and I was like difference of opinion here, pal. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in
Yeah.
bodybuilding.
I think getting a bad placing and complaining's more of a disgrace to bodybuilding than that is.
Take it on the chin, man. Take it on the chin. But then, so like I still listen to this stuff, so I'm like, could I have done anything better? So when we hit 20, I think we probably should have split that class into short and tall. So the other thing is you never know who's going to show up on the day. So if they're registered, sometimes like because we had over 120 registered last year, but I think we ended up at 103. Like, so 17 people just went, yeah, it's not for me. Like, but
Yeah.
we can't predict that. So when we see like 22 in a class, I'm like, maybe five or six are not going to show up, but 22 turned up. Like, so
Yeah.
at that point, probably should have split it. So this year we're splitting it into short and tall. So
That's it. You can learn and you make the next one better based on mistakes that you've had previously, you know?
exactly, that's all I do every year. Every year I do that.
So, aye.
Yeah,
Um, what was I going to say? So, this one's a bit more kind of like in relation to like your personal training, because obviously, like you still live like a bodybuilding lifestyle,
yeah,
which is massively what this podcast is targeted towards,
yeah.
usually. Anyway. So, how do you fit the organization of the show around the rest of your life? So, your job, family, your own training.
Mhm. So I think see if you've ever competed and you've got like I don't like 'cause there's plenty of people that compete that don't get to this point, but see if you compete and you get legitimately peeled, right? And you go through what I would class as a very unpleasant time, and you continue to do the stairmaster for 45 minutes at level 8 or something. Like, see if you've done that. I think it's almost like it's burned into you. I think it changes you as a human being, especially if you do it multiple times. So now don't get me wrong, I definitely eat the occasional, Harry Gow's dream ring. Don't get me wrong, but on the whole, like I genuinely eat 6 meals a day every day, and it takes me about 40 minutes to prep them.
Hmm.
Like I just eat very boring. So I wake up in the morning, do my cardio and stuff, and then I rattle out my food prep for the day. I still have a little meal prep bag that I've now had for I think maybe 10 years. And I take that with me everywhere. It's like my little comfort blanket. So it's always got my food, my hydration, my seasoning and stuff in it. So I load that up in the morning and I take it with me and never without my food. So like I have a small security company and I have a training business as well. So there's sometimes where I'll be working, say I've got a training course on from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. and then I'll have 2, 3 hours gap, and then I'll be working in the evening as well. So I'll eat my meals throughout the day, and it only takes me like 4 minutes to smash down a chicken and rice. So it's not like people make it out that it's I think it's harder than it is. Like, just prep your food, take it with you everywhere you go. Have you ever seen that Kai Green YouTube where he just walks about with like a carrier bag with his meals in it? That's a funny video. So there's a video of Kai Green, right? And he's made it now in bodybuilding, but he still has like a little apartment, and it's in like it's a fucking shithole. So he goes to like a 99p shop and he buys like Tupperware and he cooks all his food and he just takes it out with him in a carrier bag and eats it on the bus and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I just take my food everywhere, man. And like, so if I'm at work on shift at night, like, so people have fag breaks at work, and this is how me eating at work came about. So I used to work with a doorman who smoked, and every hour I'd be like, I'm going to nip over the road, and he'd just stand over the road and have a fag.
Hmm.
I said to the manager at the time, I was like, he takes about 5 minutes for a fag, and he's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, if I can eat chicken and rice in 5 minutes, can I go stand over there and eat my chicken and rice? And he's like, sure, yeah. So for 10 years, dude, legitimately for 10 years, I would stand in a doorway in the street in Aberdeen, piss in the rain, snow, sunshine, whatever it was, and eat cold chicken and rice.
So,
Like,
your chicken
so,
and rice break.
yeah, yeah. And I would put it down in 5 minutes, put it back in my bag, to onward with the shift. Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So that's how I fit it. That's how I fit the nutrition side of things. As for training, so my sessions have become, I guess, more and more efficient. Um, I'm quite blessed. Like, again, I train at a warehouse in Aberdeen, and it's got some spectacular kit. So, say I'm getting on a bit in bodybuilding years, so I occasionally have niggles and stuff I need to work around. But because of their, I think I did. I was speaking to somebody else about this, and I was like, I think they have like, you know 6 different types of leg press. They have 4 different types of shoulder press. They have 2 Smith machines. They have 6 different types of chest press. Like, so there's not like there's so many options for you that don't involve using a barbell. So if I'm feeling a bit battered and a bit sore, and I don't have enough time, I'll generally just hop on and have more of like a machine-based workout. But if I have the time, I tend to lean towards using a barbell if I can. At the moment, I'm being coached by Cammy Duncan, Prestige Coaching. So he's basically doing like a. So I like dieting during this process and run the show because I like knowing like I'm suffering a little bit while everyone else is suffering into the show. But sadistic like that. And I was also really heavy, man. I was like 123 and a half kilos or something. So needed to take a bit of weight off. I had a little niggly injury I need to get rid of. So I was like, oh, let's just start dieting. Spoke to Cammy. He was like, yeah, I'll take the reins. So he's dieting me just now. And it's just the breeze, man. Just the breeze. Like bit more cardio. I have a very understanding wife. Like I'm also a very, very busy guy, and she's in a very like high power, stressful job as well. So she's very understanding, and like sometimes I'm maybe not at home from like 8 in the morning till I get in at 3 in the morning sometimes. But she trains as well. She's always eating food. Yeah, she understands, and she
Like
like
you need
if she,
support network.
yeah, and if I've got an opportunity to make her meals, I do it, and then if she's got an opportunity to make my food, she'll do it. So it's a bit of a team effort to get us both there. So that's I guess yeah. So I've just basically set up my work life. So like I work for myself. Like not a lot of people can do that. Like if you're sitting at an office desk, like Cami for instance, right? He got two he got two job offers. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Cami. He'd be good to get on this. He basically got two offers for an engineering job, right? Both exactly the same. And he said to them, they were like, "Is there anything you want from us?" At the end of the interview, and he basically said, "Can I eat my food at my desk?" to them. And one said yes, and one said no. Guess which job he took? There you go.
Yeah.
So he was like, "Yeah, cool, bang!" So I can smash my food at my desk.
It's just
I
like
knew it. There's a
sort when you get a job, isn't it?
That's it. Like figure it out, man. Figure it out. Like I know a bodybuilder prep for the universe. Prep for the universe. His name's Bev Parkinson, and he trains. He trains up in Inverness now, and he trained with me for a number of years down here in Aberdeen, and he was massive. He worked on a building site, and I was like, "How did you get the food in?" And he's like, he had three bum bags, right? He had three bum bags, and he tinfoil lined them. I love telling these old school bodybuilding stories because it sounds insane to say it nowadays
Yeah.
when everyone has nice meal prep bags and stuff. So he bought three bum bags and he lined them with foil, and he basically stuffed his chicken and rice into these bags, and he would go and eat them in the portaloo on the building site. Just go to in a portaloo. He'd just be like zip, smash, boom, bum bag. Because if you got caught eating on a building site multiple times, you'd be binned. So yeah, he prepped for the universe, eating chicken rice out of a bum bag in a portaloo.
Fuck's sake, what a
So
story.
so so when I see people complaining about like anything to do with this, I'm like, suck it the fuck up, man.
Oh
Like,
man, yeah, like the amount of people that you hear that like people will go away away from home, like go and stay in a hotel or whatever. Oh, I can't take my meal with me. I can't do this, can't do that. I think I spoke with Jack about this on the last podcast as well. It's like
yeah,
you can make it happen. Get
absolutely, absolutely.
get a bum
It's,
bag and put tip for
yeah. Go sit in the toilet and eat your food. Yeah.
exactly
So yeah, the
window.
there's always a way, man. There's always a way. And then there's meal prep companies out there now as well. But like, man, you can go to Sainsbury's and just buy microwave rice and some fucking pre-cooked chicken, and boom, there's your meal. Like, there's no, yeah, it's just it doesn't need to be that hard, man. It doesn't need to be that hard. Um, but yeah, so I've basically my life allows it to a certain degree, but I've manipulated my work and home life and stuff to make it work, man, to make it work. Because I would never. It's just I enjoy training so much, man. And if my nutrition's not on point, to a certain degree, and like I said, I definitely enjoy, like, have you ever been to Maggie's Grill through here?
No.
Right, okay, shout out to Maggie's Grill. So Maggie's Grill is like a southern, uh, what's the way to put it? Like Southern America, fried chicken, chicken wings, barbecue, ribs type place, and it's sold out like every weekend. Um, and there's definitely the occasion where I accidentally find my way venturing into there and smashing a ton of food. But on the whole, like, yeah, chicken and rice is your friend.
Absolutely.
I also I eat like what I eat becomes very simple. So I eat like a large portion of my protein comes from chicken mince, not chicken breast, and that's literally so I can put in a spoon and go bang bang bang.
Easy.
Cool. Like 14 spoonfuls, I'm gone. Like onward. Huh?
All about getting it in quick.
Yeah. Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, just get it in, man. Move on. Don't be
100%.
emotionally attached to your dinner.
Hmm. So do you find the on the kind of run up to Granite, like where we're at now, like
Yeah.
your times spread a bit more thinly across all these things? Like where does
Absolutely.
Granite come into that equation?
Absolutely. So every year, because it grows a bit every year. I start the process, or I have starting the process of putting the show together earlier and earlier. So I used to leave it. There used to be like a chunk of downtime, I think, for the first couple of years, for maybe 3 months or something, where I just didn't really do a lot with it because I was like burnt out. I was like, I can't be fucked with that. But I realized that that was just giving me more and more work to do and less time. So pretty
Hmm.
much like, a week after the show, I start restarting the process of promoting next year's show.
So it's almost
Um,
the whole year, kind of.
yeah. So I lean on my team. I lean on the guys heavily. Like I couldn't put it on without the guys as well.
Yeah.
That I have behind the scenes. So yeah, Pete. I lean on Pete heavily for the admin side of things. So he'll reply to everyone's emails. Things like the clothing. So that pays for anything that we put on in the show. So whilst I am usually the delivery bitch and going out and delivering people's clothes and stuff like that, or dropping them at warehouse or going to the post office or anything like that, any of the admin stuff Pete takes care of.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the load is spread, but definitely as we get in the because people ask retarded questions on the run of the shows. Like so the Instagram will be filled with just like the most. Can I take my Chihuahua? Will you have to pay for a ticket? Wherever that might be. So
Imagine.
everything starts to. That's the genuine question. Um, Everything starts to ramp up on the run of the show, so time becomes something I just don't have on the run in.
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, so so this isn't actually a question, but it's more of a topic, and I'm just going to
Yep.
say the word dream tan.
Uh,
Can we
uh,
chat about
yeah, well, yeah, that'll chestnut, fucking hell.
that?
Yeah, so I have used Dreamtan in the past. I think the first time I ever competed, I used Dreamtan, and I understand the need for it in the industry. It's an instant show tan, and if you're heavily tattooed, it's very useful. I get it, I understand it, I understand the need for it. Now, when it's applied properly by people who know what they're doing, so if you look at Gaz Inc., who won the show 2 years ago,
Yeah,
you ever look at Adam Harding, who wears Dreamtan often, they know how to apply it and it sits on their skin nicely. It covers their tattoos to a certain degree, and when the light hits them, they look great. It's fantastic, and it's relatively inexpensive. Now, the process for putting Dream Tan on um, correctly is like it's a bit of a fine art. It's a bit of a fine art, which comes with like a cheap product. It's like if you get a body kit for your car from Timu, like you may have to do some fettling to make it fit your car. It's the same with Dreamtan, right? So they've got the process down. They know exactly what they're doing. Like you'll never see them come out on stage and they'll be leaking Dreamtan on the floor. Now, this doesn't go for everyone, obviously. So we actually thought about banning it for like immediately from the show because the venue is a very fancy listed building. It's Art Deco. Everything in that building is expensive. Everything costs a lot of money. So if Dreamtan got on it, like I had an Audi A4 the first time I competed, and I remember the armrest in the center. It had Dreamtan on it until I sold it like 6 months later. Like it was just stuck there forever. No matter how I scrubbed it, it like sunk into the leather. So I had like orange sparkly line on the middle. So it's horrible, horrible stuff when it comes into contact with furniture. So I want it. I want the show to be easy to compete at. So Dreamtan seems like a good option. So obviously we have a professional tanning service, but I didn't want to limit people and say no dream tan immediately. We just said we'd rather you didn't use it. And then last year, a couple of people used it, and there's a couple of areas we're not allowed to go into the ballroom a couple of areas in the ballroom we're just not allowed in, because they use them for photo shoots, weddings, things like that. So they're very light colored buildings, and they are stunning rooms. So like big grand pianos and stuff like that in them. So we're not allowed in those rooms, which is perfectly fine. So
You
they
don't
put
in Cannes at all, really.
yeah,
Most
yeah.
of
So
it.
they put barriers up, signage up. We send an email out telling the guys don't go near these rooms. Then last year, the manager found a guy literally getting painted up with Dream Tan in that room, and it was dripping onto the floor. And the guy had pulled like an Art Deco chair over, and he'd rested the Dream Tan on that with the upturned lid on the seat.
Oh no.
Uh, yeah, so it ruined that seat. Um, like if I just do it in math, that cost us £2,000.
Fucking
So
hell.
the damage to the building from Dreamtown cost us 2 grand.
Yeah. And it's like keeping people out of these rooms. I mean, you have to have somebody standing at the door to stop people going in now,
Yeah,
you know?
so for like long periods of the day, we'll have staff there, but we can't man like every exit. So obviously, like you want to get if you haven't done your homework and you're looking for someone to tan, that might seem like a great option. But legitimately, the ballroom weren't going to let us put on the show this year because of it. They were like, we can't risk it. So I had to put that post up saying like Dreamtan is officially banned, and if we catch you trying to put it on in the venue, would you just be asked to leave?
Yeah.
Now that's not because I hate Dreamtan. I totally understand its usage, but we can't put the show on without it. We can't put the show on with it involved. Like there's a guy who came out on stage last year, and I can see, like you can see the disappointment in my face. So I'm bodybuilding fucking 1,000 man. You walk out, I'm there to give you as much hype and excitement as I can. And it's easy for me to do because of how much I love the sport. So you walk out, George, I'm like, fuck, there's Big George. Come on, the Gingers, let's go. Like, I'm so excited. But then this guy walked out and he's covered in Dream Tan. It's the gold one. It's like dripping down his legs. It's dripped on his pants. It's dripping onto the floor. He kneels for his first pose, leaves like a big gold puddle on the floor. Like, and I can just feel the excitement drain out my body when I see that. I'm like, what have you fucking done, man? What have you done? And then he's away to walk off. He's like, dude, do me a favor, please don't touch anything. It turns out it was that guy that was getting painted up in the room. Uh,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'm slowly developing a bit of a hatred for this stuff now.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's I mean, like you can see it like even in the toilets. Like the
Yeah,
toilets are pretty bad after it.
yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, I think like tan as a whole, like I came home, like I had Steph tan me,
yeah,
like you guys did, which is what I would recommend anybody that competes at Granite to do. But like I came home after Granite and I went for a shower and like so much tan came off me,
yeah,
and
man.
I had like Egyptian fucking whatever bed sheets, white.
Oh
Uh,
no, oh
I,
no,
I thought that I'd got the majority of it off me, but nah, they were
they
ruined.
they
So
ruined.
that's talking just normal tan, and then you're imagining this stuff that's literally dripping off you.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. So like we cling film like quite a lot of the touch points, but obviously stuff we can't cling film. But I think this year, as a show of faith for the ballroom, we're going to overly cling film everything we can. I've done stuff like usually I have the venue booked from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. This year we have the venue booked from 7 till 7. So we have a full 12 hours. Now, obviously, that's a great expense to us, but it means like there's less drama for everyone on the day. So we can get in earlier and start setting up and cling filming everything. And then the ballroom staff aren't stressing if they're kept there a bit late because the show's, quite large now. Yeah, there you go. That's my dream tan bit.
fair. So it's not a personal vendetta. It's more just
Absolutely not. Yeah, I've used Dreamtime myself, like, and it worked relatively well. As like an instant, like I have not done my homework here. I need to like. So if you're doing multiple shows, man, if you're doing a Chris Bain, you're doing 9 shows in the Scottish season, and like 40, 50 quid for a tan every time is a lot of money. But I think Dream Tan's about $15.
yeah,
Put it on, you're done. So I totally understand the need for it. If I was jumping into like an FMC or a BPA or something like that, I'd probably use Dreamtime myself. Um, but yeah, you don't use it at the Granite, please. I'll be very upset if you do.
hopefully that message gets across to a lot of people this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Stage. Um, so is there anything new coming to Granite this year?
Is there anything new coming to Granite?
that you can?
So yeah. So it's just fortuitous timing, George.
Okay.
So myself and Peter had actually done a podcast on just a podcast with myself and Peter the other night with the guys from Dedicated, and we basically touched on the IBFA thing and how we were looking to part ways and our reasoning for it. So yeah, we'll be parting ways. We have parted ways with the IBFA, and that announcement came out, you know, this morning when we started recording this. So you're well aware of that. So we're moving away from the IBFA for various reasons. They don't bring a lot to the table, but this year they're expecting a lot from us, and that's not something okay. They'd like to have some degree of influence in the show, and again, that's not something I'm okay with. These people have never helped me or brought anything to the table, so I'm not willing to give over any degree of creative freedom to them, especially if I think it's going to negatively affect the show or negatively affect the athletes involved. So for that reason, we will now be an independent bodybuilding show, which does open some doors. It means I can have, I think the first year, rest in peace, but I messaged Luke Sando and I was like, hey bud, any chance you could do a guest posing spot in Aberdeen, please? And he was like, sorry, bro. I'm an IFBB pro. That would be a thing. I'm like, I thought I'd ask. Next person asked was James Hollingshead. I just rattled off all the big names in British bodybuilding to try and get them to come to Aberdeen, and they all said the same thing, like IFBB. So now that we're an independent show, theoretically speaking, that should make it easier for IFBB pros to compete with us. To guest pose. Like, so I'm always looking for ways to level up, and this is just the natural course of it. The IBFA went through a bit of a restructure. They have a new chairman, and he's looking to kind of shake things up and change things. But yeah, it's like I mentioned to you before the call. Like we'd butted heads a bunch of times, me and the IBFA. So the first, and I never thought I'd be what's the word? I never thought I'd be a campaigner for men's physique. But the first year they tried to tell me I couldn't have men's physique in my show, and I had to almost like fight the men. No, I did. Fought the men's physique corner and ended up saying, look, I'll lose you guys before I say no to men's physique. Like, I'm going to have men's physique at my show. And I explained my reasoning. So men's physique is enormous in bodybuilding. They are legitimate bodybuilders,
Yeah.
most of them. Because most of them do, most of them now do train legs. If they want that complete physique look, if they want their physique to look complete. So most of them do train legs to a certain degree. It's one of our biggest classes.
Yeah.
Arguably one of our most competitive classes this year. They all know how to use social media. It sells tickets. Like, if you think about it in one class, that class probably alone pays for the venue. So I was like, I don't care if you guys aren't going to have it, you're British. Because that's what they were like, well, we're not going to have it, the British. IBFA doesn't believe in men's physique. And then a year later, they have men's physique at their British.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like a battle with them every year for something. So I think the second year was classic. They wanted me to call classic athletic bodybuilding. I was like, no, that sounds shit. That's taking all the cool away from classic. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna call, yeah, I'm gonna call it classic, and I'm gonna make it no weight caps because I just want to see the best classic physique. I don't give a fuck about numbers. Best classic physique I can see. And then this year's one was wellness. And initially they didn't want to go wellness, but now basically when I said I'm doing wellness, all the other shows in the country said, well, we were thinking about doing that as well. So they almost pressured the IBFA into allowing wellness. So every year there's a bit of like a battle with them, and I don't think that's how it should be. Like,
No.
bodybuilding's a very fluent thing. Like, I am a grumpy old hardcore class 1 bodybuilder. Like, that's who I am. But you need to understand the sport, and it evolves and it moves, like, it changes.
I think, touching back on like what you were saying about men's physique, like to literally try and prevent a large community of people from being able to compete. Like, some guys just have a men's physique frame. Like, I had a client, and he's actually over from Australia just now. He's like wanting to compete in the future, not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But I had him come in and do a posing session with Nathan.
Yeah.
Nathan Forge.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously I don't know how to pose for men's physique, but I'd had a look at this client. And I was like, you literally look men's physique, like that's what your frame is. So
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
we do. and it's like, well, they wouldn't fit into classic, they wouldn't fit into open.
No,
So
no.
it's important to
There's
have that
there
before they speak.
there's a yeah. There's like, and it's also like it's. I don't like to use the word attainable, but for most people, if you wanted to get on stage and because you can't jump into class one without big legs. You can't jump into class two or class three generally without having some degree of legs. But let's say for whatever reason your legs are a bit shit, um, but you're that guy who trains at the gym just as his t-shirt muscles. Man, you can jump on stage. Like you can have a run of it. Like I'd like to make the show as accessible as possible for people, and they just kept putting barriers in the way. So yeah,
Yeah, it just aligned better to be independent.
yeah, definitely,
I
definitely.
love the post that
Uh,
you put up as well, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's something we do. I think that's something that we do very differently from how everyone else. As far as I like, man, I don't see everything. Like, but from what I can see on bodybuilding forums and social media, I don't think nobody markets the same way we do. Like,
So,
nobody does their marketing like we do. It's very tongue in cheek, I think.
yes, very unique.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the Braveheart scene was it just needed to be done, man. It just needed to be done.
Is it you
Um,
that like puts them all together, or who's
Oh,
the?
absolutely. No, no. So, Rob Hay. Shout out to Rob Hay or Frank Janssen Design. So, Rob is self-taught, and he probably could have like a legitimate business doing this, but he just does it out of like he just loves doing it. Just loves doing it. So yeah, we've got Rob in the background, and if we like, so it's on Mother's Day, so we have the mums go free. So if you're competing, um, and you want your mum to come to the show, we'll sort it out. It's like a thank you for coming. It's good for athletes. And then straight away I was like, who's the biggest mum in the world? Like who do I think of? And fucking Marge Simpson pops into my head, and he's like, oh yeah, there's, and he starts fucking checking out images. He's like, wait a minute, we can use this font. There's the Simpsons font, and wait a minute, there's a picture here of her at a bodybuilding show. Boom, and then he just puts it together. And I think that graphic took him 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
to make, and
You
it,
think
it's
makes people want to share it too?
yeah, man, yeah, yeah. Like you see I think my favorite one to date has been my, I'm a bit big-headed, it's arrogant even, but the Last Supper one. He did that like 2 days before the show last year, and he did that without talking to me about it. It just blew me away. He's like, mate, I got something for you. He sent me it, and I was decked, absolutely decked. Like blew me away, man, blew me away.
They're all
So
good
yeah,
though. I see like the Avengers ones and that as well from last year. Like it was sick.
yeah, the Avengers Assemble one for our sponsors. Yeah, just try to do things a bit different. Still be professional, but also like I mean, it's
Have a bit of
bodybuilding,
banter.
man. Yeah, yeah, you have to have a bit of banter, man. So yeah, um, that it's so handy having Rob, man. So handy having Rob. Um,
Absolutely.
mm, I'm not sure how, like you said, things are different. Like I always try and, like I said, I always try and level up, and I've got I'm like for a long time, maybe 6 months, I was like, we can't beat last year's guest posing. Like, how do you beat last year's guest posing? So what do we have? We had Andy Scott, new IFBB Pro. We had Jack on stage, both of them peeled out of their mind. Taylor Johnson, Ross Kerr, who guest posed the first year. Cammy jumps off the judges' table. Just brilliant, like brilliant for bodybuilding.
I
And then
fucking
get,
missed it as well.
yeah, no way.
I was pumping up backstage for Classic at the same time, so I was like,
Oh
oh,
no,
I seen the videos obviously, but it
I
would have
was,
been nice to see.
I was nuts. And then I got them to go shot for shot. So I was like, Andy, pick your best shot. And he's like, rear double bicep. Turns around and blows him away. I think Jack was like, abs and thighs. Boom. Because he looked nuts as well. He's all in this fucking, his tan and everything looked mad. I think Ross Kerr was like, most muscular. Bang. Like, it was just good crack. Like, shite bag if you don't get on stage. Ah, fuck. So yeah, I've got no idea how we're beating that this year. But like every year, I said it's difficult to stuff's gonna go wrong, man. So like I've like lined all this stuff up to happen on the day.
Yeah,
Some of it won't happen because that's the nature of it. Like people will get injured. People like I won't say his name, but one of the guys who got on stage last year was like not getting on stage. Like the day before, he's like I'm not doing it. He's like, if you call me up, I'm not doing it. And I was like, all right, okay, like, dude, there's no pressure at all, man. If you don't feel like you want to do it, like, it's fine. He's like, okay, right, just as long, just, I'm sorry, man, but I'm just not ready. I'm cool, no worries. Then I got the show day, and I was like, shite bag if you don't. And he was like, ah, and then after it, he's like, mate, I'm really glad I got up. It was great crack. So yeah. So trying to beat that's going to be difficult this year, but like there's plans in place. There's plans in place. But
Nice one.
like try to pull it off is no easy thing to do.
I'm sure if there's anybody that's going to, it's you guys though. So
Yeah. I don't. Another thing is I don't like I've started this trend of wearing ridiculous outfits, and I'm not sure how to beat last year's and the degree of ridiculousness. So
that's
do
awesome.
you
I
know
said,
that?
remember when I came out for my routine and my music
Uh,
wasn't, and me and you had like a pose off, like those
yeah,
photos
yeah.
were sick.
Yeah, yeah. To try and find some way if I could kill the time, man. There's no music. Well, better find something if I can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll pose with you, George. No bother. Uh,
We'll need to. My dog's just ran in the room. Out
no
you go.
worries.
Go on, Simba. Good boy. No, that way. Go on.
This is what the internet needs.
Yeah. Go on, Simba. Go on. Out you go. Out. Go bed. Go on. Good lad. Sorry about that.
I don't apologise. I don't apologise. Yeah. So I found that the top hat had lost property.
The one?
I found the top hat had lost property.
Oh, the one you wore last year.
Yeah. And so see in the morning when I'm like, when me and the guys are putting everything together, like I'll run about in my skivvies and stuff, dressed like a homeless person, like getting everything ready. And I found this fucking top hat, so I put it on, and we're doing the sound check, and I walked out with the hat on, and Pete was like, "You're not wearing that, are you?" And I was like, "Maybe," and he's like, "You can't wear that." I was like, "Well, I'm wearing it now," and then everyone else was like, "Are you gonna wear that?" And I was like, "Maybe." I was like, "Ah, fuck it, I'm doing it. Fuck it." Yeah. Yeah. So basically, a few people said I can't wear that, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking do it.
Are you going
Um,
to do it again this year?
I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So generally, the process is just try to find an outfit that fits me. Um, and so, like, it sounds. This might sound mad. I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but like the way I think of it is, see, so when I've been on stage, see if there's been like a runner that's telling me where to stand or anything. And they're just in like a black staff, like PCA, Two Bros t-shirt, NABA t-shirt, and they're like, yeah, stand there. I've always been like, who the fuck, where am I meant to stand? Who are you? If I see some guy in a giant gold jacket with a fucking top hat, I'm like, and he's pointing somewhere, I'm gonna fucking see him, aren't I? And
Yeah.
then when I'm talking on stage, everyone can see me. So part of it was that originally. So I just wanted to wear like a different coloured coat.
Hmm.
So I think the first year I did it, I didn't have a microphone. Second year I dressed all in black because I'm a big goth. So I dressed all in black, and then nobody could see me against the curtain because I'm always going to keep the black background because
Yeah.
fucking real bodybuilding. I'm always going to keep the black background, so I can't wear all black. So I was like, I'm just going to wear a blazer, and then I had to level up from a purple blazer. So then I've got this, yeah. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go with the outfit either.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll come up with something good though.
Yeah,
Um,
raid some charity shops.
that's it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the best way to do it.
Hmm.
What sets Granite apart from the rest of the UK shows? I know we've kind of went over this already, but if you were to say like the main
Hmm.
difference.
Um, so I think we do things differently from what I've seen and what I've experienced. We do things differently from how most folk do it. Um, like we're a show. Like we're a show. It's probably less. It's probably less professional, less efficient. I will always give. So see, for instance, things like so if I take Masters bodybuilding, right, and we put Masters bodybuilding first on because they're the ones that are under the most stress, and I don't want anyone to die on stage. So we put Masters on first, right? So they can get up, survive, get off stage, go relax, right? Where if I leave them till later in the day, they might dehydrate and die. So they go on first. Masters go out first,
To be
and
honest.
then yeah, I'd see it's the best thing to do. Risk assess. So when they so if you imagine you go through your quarter turns, your mandatories, all that stuff, you do pose that, and the guys are waiting to come out for the routine. See if they need like 30 seconds or a minute to compose themselves, maybe mop themselves down, get their breath back. I give them that.
Yeah.
Probably at the detriment to the efficiency of the show, and it's that tiny little thing over a period of the day that I think makes us very different. So like I'll give you a breather. I'll make sure you have time, if you're in one of the female classes, you have time to take your shoes on, put them off, take them off, put them on, get yourself ready, compose yourself before you come out to do your routine. Now that comes from like I said it in the athletes meeting, like this might be the only time you ever get on stage. Some of my fondest memories come from being on stage in bodybuilding. Are going to watch shows, so I want them to be able to give it their absolute best for that small period of time. I'll do everything I can to make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something I think is when you become like a giant federation or a giant machine. I think that's something that's maybe lost a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm not saying these people don't care for the athletes. I'm sure they do, but you start to lean towards the efficiency rather than the happiness of the athlete,
Yeah.
and that's not something I can in good conscience do. But that's because I'm a small thing. I'm this jumped up little upstart doing one show a year, so I can do that. And what that generally leads to is it being like a bodybuilding show run by bodybuilders for bodybuilders, and that synergistically makes it a better show. I also get businesses involved that I know are heavily involved or enthusiastic about bodybuilding. Um, so I have them in the room as well. And that's another reason for the ballroom being such a good venue. Like there's no separate room with businesses in it or anything like that. Everyone's in the room, everyone's watching the show. If you decide you don't want to sit and watch uh, men's physique, you can get up and you can go to the heavy duty, browse some clothes, go see Highland Supplement Centre, get some protein. You've got options for the day. Um,
It's a long
go
day
over.
as well.
It is, yeah, it is.
You don't
Um,
do that the whole time. You want to be able to go around all these stalls. I mean, the stalls are cool as well, you know?
Yeah, I think yeah, we've got like engineered muscle coming this year, heavy duty coming this year. Just blows my mind. These people are willing to come, like travel that distance and support us. It's incredible, man. It really is. But like so we see with my security business, right, and even with the training business. So if I look after my team, if I look after the guys, if I pay them what they're due, if I put them in good uniform, I make sure their duty of care is looked after, like they manage the business for me, right? They manage the client for me. Whereas if I pay minimum wage, dress them in shite uniform, only have them at shite venues, like they don't do that. Whereas if I look after bodybuilders, so if I look after bodybuilders and make sure it's a bodybuilding show about bodybuilding for bodybuilders, the bodybuilders almost do the work. Like they'll come out and have a much better time. They'll be more relaxed. They'll like because if you think about it, like I said, the without the bodybuilding familia of Scotland, like we wouldn't have a show. Without the talent, we wouldn't have a show, and that's true in so many. So I look after the guys. So I look after the bodybuilders and make sure the bodybuilders' experience is as good as it can. They then rate the show. They like the show. So every year it should grow. They'll then promote the show because they're like, these guys actually give a fuck. I went and competed with these guys. They didn't give a fuck about me. They had me on a cold concrete floor. I was in the dark, nowhere to pump up, blah, blah, blah. I was treated like shit. Like, so this is an actual bodybuilding show for bodybuilders. So they'll PR it as well for me. So, like, I look after the athlete, and that's just naturally, I think, leads to it being a show that bodybuilders want to get behind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is cool to see come to fruition because it was like an idea in my head, 5, 6 years ago. Because I'd just been to so many shows where they're like, the lighting's terrible, they play AC/DC Thunderstruck 7 times, um, and there's just no stage production. And I'm like, this could be so much cooler, man.
Make it better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think the priorities are definitely like different in
Mm,
comparison to other federations,
yeah.
you know?
But that's again part of the reason for parting with the IBFA. So I can do what I want essentially. Um, so if I don't know, if I decide I want to give away, £500 per class, I can. I'd be fucking bankrupt if I did that. But like, if I decide I want to do something, if I decide I want to add men's wellness, if I decide what's the new bikini class that's not quite bikini, the smaller one.
It's the one that just came out. I can't actually
I
remember.
forget the name. It's like I've
It's
been to a
basically
Zum I've been to a Zumba class. I've trained at a Pure Gym once or twice. I'm going to get on stage now. I'm all for people getting access to stage, but I don't really understand that class. But I imagine it'll develop over time into something.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, if I decided to add that, like I can, but I
yeah,
don't because I don't have any oversight. If I thought it was right for bodybuilding and local bodybuilding, I could
mhm,
add it. Whereas a lot of these large federations have a structure to adhere to, whereas I don't.
yeah,
Same with something as simple as the music. So a lot of these federations will have set music to play. I don't. So if I think something is relevant and it's going to get a reaction from the crowd, I can play it. So
mhm,
if you go to any other bodybuilding show in the UK, they'll play AC/DC's Thunderstruck at least once, right? And I love AC/DC, but the lead in to AC/DC Thunderstruck is a minute long. So by the time that tunes away to drop, like it's the moment's gone, it's past. It doesn't work. Anyway, so I'll play like when Class One comes out, I'll play like Rammstein, Five Finger Death Punch, things like that. But when Masters Ladies comes out, I'll play like Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, music that they like.
uh-huh,
So they'll pose better, so they're happier. So then the crowd reacts to them enjoying themselves. Like
yeah,
with men's physique, I'll play that house every weekend, things like that.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I can just have a bit more creative freedom, a lot more creative freedom, complete creative freedom, and that works sometimes. Sometimes it backfires a little bit, but I'm not stuck in the structure, and I think that again lends itself to the show.
yeah, 100%. I think it's what makes Granite what it is. It's
Yeah,
having that creative freedom. So hopefully that
I
just
mean
some.
you're probably never going to go to a bodybuilding show in the UK that plays like Electric Callboy or Rammstein. Like it's probably not going to happen. But my show, yeah, yeah, you'll probably hear Slipknot at some point this year. Like you're not gonna hear that at your generic bodybuilding show.
Absolutely. I think having creative freedom of the music's like a cool way of being able to add your own taste to the show as well and create
Yeah,
your own
yeah, and
atmosphere
again,
on
yeah,
whatever class is coming on as well.
yeah, and again, it's guesswork. It's guesswork for me. It's my educated in this particular subject. Like it's my educated guess of what I think will work and what won't work, and most of the time it does work.
Yeah.
Most of the time the music gets the right reaction. So, and that's something a lot of shows can't do. And again, that lends to atmosphere. That lends to atmosphere. And if you're a show promoter watching this from various other federations and you want to do this, like do it. Like make bodybuilding great again, man. Like if you guys want to take notes, fucking, I'm not gonna be upset about it, man. If you want to go and try and do this at your show, go for it. Absolutely go for it.
You heard it here.
Um,
Rob's happy for you to steal his ideas.
yeah, man. By the way, I, there's a couple of shows that have tried to do things that I've done since I've started, with varying degrees of success. But like that's if it helps, if it makes their show better, it's better for bodybuilding. So fire away, man. Fire away. Yeah, if you want to wear a ridiculous top hat and a gold spangly jacket, man, fire away.
Hopefully we see that more often.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
I really want to see that. I know the podcast that me and Pete did the other night. He went to a bodybuilding show last year, and it's a federation that's been well established for a long time. And he was introduced to the person that runs the federation. They were like, "Why does everyone compete at your show and they don't compete at our show?" And he's like, "What's so different?" And then Pete was like, he paused and he was like, "We have a Rob, like we have a Rob, and he knows what bodybuilding people want, and I don't think you guys do."
just put it black and white.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really cool for him to say.
Yeah,
I don't think the person was entirely happy about that, but yeah, I just do my best, man. Just do my
shoot
best.
it.
Yeah.
Uh, so, can we expect any surprises this year?
Absolutely, absolutely. Hopefully, all good ones. But occasionally there'll be like so see when I do when everyone gets a little brief, videographers, photographers, I'm like, see if someone has a mental breakdown and they start crying, make sure you capture that. Like, that's spectacular. Like I think Lauren Ambrose, like a couple of years ago, she broke down and burst into tears when she won the overall, and I'm like, make sure you got that footage because that's great television. It's great television, man. Like somebody having a mental breakdown. Having a mental breakdown. Not quite, I don't know. But yeah, like capture the emotion that people go through because man, it's a massive day for some people. So yeah,
Mm.
absolutely, there will be some surprises, and hopefully they are all they are all good.
Hope you cover it, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Decent.
hopefully they're all good surprises, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Um, the final question:
Yep.
what does the future hold for Granite City?
Ah, man, what does it hold? So not a lot of people know this, but I originally said I would do 5 years and then tap out. Because my businesses are now at a level where it is getting harder and harder to manage, because the Granite is growing. But like, see if I'm still enjoying it, and I don't. It's the Batman thing. Like, don't do it long enough to see yourself become the villain. I don't want to end up like one of these other federations where I'm like, I know what's right for bodybuilding when I don't.
When you don't,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. When I've lost touch with it, then I'm not going to do it anymore. So whilst one, I'm enjoying it. Two, the athletes seem to be enjoying it. I'll keep going. I'll keep going.
well, it doesn't seem
Um,
to be slowing down at all. You know, everybody fucking loves it. You guys not
yeah,
in the people's bodybuilding show of the UK?
yeah, yeah. I'm promoter of the year. But
Oh,
like, like how much weight do you put in something like that? Um, but I guess what I took from it was I was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. It's free promotion for the show, so big fan of that. But the big part for me was seeing people vote with their feet. So when it was like, what's the best show in the UK? And I
the comment
think,
section.
oh man, I,
It was
I,
all Granite.
it was mad. It was insane, absolutely insane. I think I forget the numbers, but there's like, I think there was like two or three votes for other shows, and then there was like 100 or something for the Granite. That was really like, oh man, you
And it
guys.
just shows the community that we have here in Scotland for
Yeah,
bodybuilding. And it's
absolutely.
like, Granite's like I know that it's over in Aberdeen and I'm in Inverness, but it's like still our home show, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I try to make it that. I try to make it that. So like my family's from Inverness.
Mhm.
Shout out to Ronnie and Susie. Ronnie's a long-term member of Lift Forge. Um, yeah, I'm through there every few weeks, man. So I always drop in at the Forge, get a cheeky session in, sit and speak with the guys and that.
Yeah.
Pick up a supplement run, but like because it's such a cool bodybuilding hub to have in the UK.
Mhm.
Um, hello. Oh yes, thank you. I'm being summoned. Uh, Lost my train of thought now. I think I'm in trouble. Yeah, there you go. What's so somebody'd mentioned starting a federation. Actually, two or three people have mentioned starting a federation. But again, like if you think about everything I've said, like how busy I am with my businesses and stuff, like how would I even go about doing something like that? And
Yeah.
I think like all the reasons that I think Granite works are that community. So could I bring that to another city or something? Probably. Would it be the same? Would I enjoy it as much? Like I have my mum in the front row every year. Like I have my friends and family in the front row every year. Whereas going and doing it somewhere else, I don't think would be as fun or as exciting. And I'm doing this because I love doing it. So yeah, I'm not sure if that would be something I would look at in the future. Because
Yeah.
how do you even start running a federation? Who knows?
And then does it take away from Granite itself because you
Yeah,
focus so much on the federation?
there is that. Yeah, and then I become the monster. You know, then I become
Yeah.
everything I promised I wouldn't be. So
Yeah. You have
yeah,
other shows leaving your federation.
yeah. I think because like even things like the venue, people have said, you know, do you want to go and get like a larger venue? And I'm like, I think it kills it. I think it kills it if we lose the atmosphere, we lose the location. I think that site, that venue, um, lends itself to bodybuilding. So I think I would rather it be, you know, 10% smaller, but awesome, than be like 20% bigger and a bit. vanilla, a bit mid.
Into it.
That's not, yeah. So yeah, no massive plans to expand or anything like that. Just make it more awesome. Make it more awesome.
Just improving upon anything that went wrong this year, next year,
That's
and
it.
yeah.
That's
But like
exactly it.
for a show like that, it's if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's we've got the right ingredients, man. We just need to perfect it. So
Yeah.
onwards.
It's getting better and better every year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. No pressure. I feel like a huge amount of responsibility. I talked about this last year in our YouTube video. Like I now feel like massively responsible for the bodybuilding familia of Scotland, like to make sure this show like thrives and grows. So yeah, I'll
Bodybuilding together.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, trying to just feel massively responsible. So yeah, it'll be better this year. It will. It'll be a level up. So
I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be good.
yeah,
I'm
we're
really
do
expecting this year.
we're doing things like the social media thing will be better this year. So instant uploads, instant interviews. We're doing interviews with class winners after that.
That's
So yeah, so with the like again, it's just like another turn of the dial, another notch up. So yeah,
yeah.
bigger and better.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Yeah, hope.
So that is us coming up on just over an hour and 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
and I've kind of covered through all the questions, but that was really thank you for coming on, Rob.
No worries, man. No worries.
So,
It's cool to see. It's cool to see. So it's like something I toyed with the idea of doing myself was doing a little podcast for bodybuilding and stuff like that. But again, it's a time thing, man. It's a time thing. So it's not something I never do. So it's really cool to see like an actual bodybuilder, competitive bodybuilder, doing something like this. So yeah, hammer it, buddy, hammer it.
absolutely. One of my goals for 2025 was kind of just ramping up content creation on social media, which I've been doing. Because I've got the YouTube videos of like training as well, which is good.
Yeah,
I've got another filming session for that on Tuesday, so that'll be coming out as well soon. And
yeah,
everybody seems to be really loving it. And the
yeah,
podcast, initially I was meant to be doing it just once a month, but
yeah,
the feedback from the people that watched it, they just wanted them pumped out more. So I was like, right, fuck it, we'll do it every 2 weeks.
yeah. Do it. Absolutely do it. Yeah. Just consistency, man. Just keep hammering it out. Yeah.
Absolutely,
And yeah, if you ever want me on again, man, give me a shout. Yeah,
100%.
I'll clear my
I'm sure
schedule.
I will.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Right. Cheers, George. Right. I better shoot now. I'm in a bit of
Yes.
trouble, I think.
Hopefully it's all good.
Yeah. Right.
Right, cheerio. I'll speak to you soon.
Right. Take it easy, buddy. See you soon.
Take care, dude. Bye bye.
Right.